This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
You're listening to INCRadio.
Broadcasting live from Chicago, Illinois. DZEM 954 AM station. Here to bring you great conversations about faith, people, places, culture, and recent events all around the district. Join us on YouTube at INCRadio.org. Hello, Northern Midwest and the rest of the world. It's time to get this show started.
Hello, everyone. It is time to get this show started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's tuning in to INCRadio Northern Midwest Satellite Studio. One of your hosts today, Abe Romero from Bloomingdale, Illinois. I've also got Tony over there in Sterling Heights, Michigan. You'll see her a bit later in our discussion today, but she is not the featured guest on our panel. But we have a special guest today. If you've seen in our thumbnail today, we are going to be talking about marathon running. Okay. Not me. I'm personally not a marathon runner. I don't really like running in general, but for those of you who are, please let us know in the YouTube comments section there on the side or down below about your tips, any advice that you guys have in regards to just running in general, running a marathon, if you've ever wanted to run a marathon. But while you comment there on the side or down below, we're going to talk to one of our fellow brothers here from the state of Ohio, for him to share his experiences with running. So without further ado, let's say hi to Robert here from Ohio. Please introduce yourself. Say hi to everyone who's tuning in today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Robert from Ohio. Runner.
Nice to have you on the show. So today, right, we're going to be talking about marathon running, but when we were talking earlier in our program, or before the program started, you weren't actually into running when you were younger. So how did that start? How did your journey into running begin? Were you into sports when you were younger or anything like that? Or
So I wasn't really into running. It was more of I played volleyball in high school, but then running didn't really came as a hobby for me until like last year. I was invited by one of like my resident minister back then, but Brother Juni Alarin, to run like a 10K, and that's where pretty much like my running journey started.
okay. So at least you were, athletic in high school, but it took, one of these events to and a 10 or 5, was it a 5K or a 10K that was suggested?
It was a
It
10K.
was a 10K. Okay,
Yeah.
so how did you feel upon hearing that at first? Because you weren't running prior to that, really. So how did you take that? Or was that
Yeah.
a good challenge for you?
I think for the longest time, like the longest one that I like run is like a mile and a half. That's like our like requirement in the Navy. I'm an active duty Navy. So but prior to like the invite going to a 10K, I was preparing for like a OCR. So it was like an obstacle course race, which obviously involves like running. That's when I kind of like thought of like, okay, 10K should be fine. It wasn't. It was pretty tough, but I think the excitement, like seeing a lot of people doing it, like of all ages, really kind of like gets you motivated to like run, like to actually finish it at a certain time or like a certain goal in mind. So yeah, it was pretty good. It continued on from there on. So
So like, let's, I guess, work from I don't want to say the bottom, but like, cause it's kind of impossible. Well, I'd say probably is impossible to go to a marathon length race right away, especially without any preparation. So how do you prepare for longer length races like 10Ks or marathons?
So,
Do you start? Did you start with the smaller races first, or what's that preparation like?
so really, when I got into it, it wasn't really like, half marathons or even like full marathons was not really into, like, in the fold for me. I fear of like the length of it, like the distance. It was pretty, scary knowing that you gotta have to run like a certain amount of like length. It was pretty far for me. So I guess we started like at the 10K, and upon like, doing some more races at like a 10K length, we kind of like, you eventually really like just progress from there. I think a more structured training plan started when we registered for the half marathon, just because, it's twice the length of a 10K, definitely. So um I looked into like, publications, YouTube, like Facebook, just trying to see how to prepare myself like for that distance. So and I came to find out it wasn't really that hard. It was just, it was hard at first just to start, but when once you kind of like get into the role of things, it was really fine from there. Distance wise, I think like a good rule of thumb would be, if you're just starting, right? You do your runs. I think like per week you should just like add like at least like 10%. That's a good rule. Like adding mileage at a gradual rate, 10%. So for example, if you are planning like to run a marathon or like a half marathon, you have like at least like 12 to 16 weeks of preparation, and then you can start, let's just say, 10 miles per week. So break it down to however many days you are like available to run, and then on the next week you just add 10%, so you do run like 11 miles from there, and then just continue doing it, and then you'll see it, because when you do the race itself, like there's like a lot more factors into it. The excitement is there, the adrenaline is there. So you might think that it was hard at first, but when you get there, it's pretty not easy, but it's a it's definitely an experience.
I have a quick follow-up question to that, Robert, just
Yeah.
because you mentioned earlier that you are in the military. Are there any, I guess, weightlifting exercises that you do to kind of help strengthen your legs in terms of being prepared for a run aside from just the running?
Yes. So a good like marathon plan, or like a good like training plan, would also include your like strength training. So more so, targeting your lower body, um, your core as well. So doing planks, doing calf raises, that's a good way to start. And also, it is like a way for you to prevent injuries, because you keep on running, right? So, I mean, you build strength from there. You build your muscles from running, but you have to target those muscles on like a different exercise other than running, so that you can
Mhm.
actually prevent like injury.
Mhm. Okay, good to know.
Good to know. But like some of those things, like injuries, I guess you can kind of anticipate or prepare for in a sense during your training. But um, when we were talking earlier, you said that you're currently preparing for your second marathon. So I guess the first one was a brand new experience. So were there any difficulties maybe that you didn't plan for when you ran that first marathon?
So yeah, so that first marathon, I did it in the Philippines. The hardest part of it, aside from obviously like the difference in temperature, like the weather, is that like the race starts like at night, is at 10 o'clock at night. So your body naturally is wanting to go to sleep at that time. So and obviously you know the unknown. I haven't really like I haven't really run like that long,
Mhm.
and pretty much like the anticipation of it, the excitement, the nerves, like a lot of things just goes into like the run itself. That to a point you don't really know that you just don't really realize that you're just running it. You're not really thinking of it. You're just going and well, I guess like the atmosphere as well, because it was at night. I mean, it's in the Philippines. There's a lot of like people outside cheering for you. I mean, that I think that helps, but it was pretty tough. Like, your first one, I think uh, my advice is if you're going for your first marathon, you just don't really do not really plan on like targeting like a certain like a time to finish. You just want to finish. And that's the thing. That's for your first. Now on my second one, it's gonna be in Carmel, Indiana, April 19th. This time around, I'm a little bit more prepared for it. I have like a training block that started December last year, and the one thing that I didn't anticipate was obviously it was like in the middle of the winter. So when I was like training, so I mean the run itself, like the marathon itself, I guess it would be like a pretty good weather, but like the training was pretty tough. I don't like running on a treadmill, so I always run outside. I think that was like for the most part like my thing. And, but I think I'm prepared this time around.
I was gonna also add because you kind of alluded to it earlier, like the goal, at least according to you, during your running the first marathon, is you want to finish, no
Yep.
matter what time it takes. So how did you get over those, I guess mental blocks? Because sometimes, like when even I'm running a mile or two, I'm just like, oh, I can't go on anymore. I'm so tired. So how do you get over that?
Yes, I think for me, like the biggest portion is that when I run, I can listen to music, right? There's like runners that really just try to like, immerse like on the surroundings and whatnot. Like, but for me, it was like more so like music helps me on like the first like few miles on the race. There's gonna be a point where music doesn't work anymore. So at that point, it would be just pretty much for me like thinking about like, hey, this race is just pretty much like a celebration of your successful training, right? Um, this is your celebration run. That's what I like think about, because like the hardest part is the training, right? So because you run a good amount of miles every single day, every single week. And uh, I think for the most part, when you're in the race itself, like if you have that mindset of like, hey, this is just, for me to celebrate my training, I think that's where I kind of like get over the hump. Definitely for longer mileage, like a full marathon, there's like what they call like the first 20 miles of it is based on your training. So and the last 6 months of it is just pure mental from there. So that's when you kind of really have to dig in deep, forget about the pain, just go push.
We have a question in our live chat asking, do you have a special diet to prepare for like marathons?
uh what was the question again? I'm sorry.
The so they were asking, is there like a specific diet to prepare for like marathons?
Oh yes. So running like a marathon, right? So there's two main energy source for it. If you're running like easy runs like during your training, lower like heart rate, you are kind of like getting energy from fat storage. But the more intense you are running, then you are getting like energy coming from like your glycogen stores, which is your carbs, right? So for marathons, part of like the preparation would be, we call it a taper week, meaning we don't really run that week that much. We kind of like conserve our energy, but 3 days, like 2 to 3 days before the marathon itself, we do what we call carb loading. So we pretty much just, you know, not that much protein. It's all like carbs so that you can actually put like more like glycogen in your body, store it so that you can be like prepared like for a race. But aside from that, like your regular day to day, obviously, um, not, you don't really need like a specific like diet for it. I think for the most part you can actually cheat on like your diet just because you run it, you burn calories anyway. So uh yeah, as for that diet, yeah, no, not for until before you run the marathon itself.
10 cups of rice. Got it. Before me.
Yes, that's why Filipinos are really good in running.
Nice. I was gonna say, is that the post race treat, or do you have a post race reward? I'm just curious because I see some like, they eat like cake or donuts or something after the race. So,
Oh,
do you
definitely.
have one? I'm just curious.
Definitely. So after the race, we go to a buffet.
There you that
Yeah,
nice.
you really gotta go and so after races, you get really gotta go and replenish your like your body with like electrolytes,
Mhm.
protein, so that you can start like the muscle recovery right after. So that's why I talked about like buffet because you got like a different, varieties of protein in front of you. You can just like go and eat it.
Yeah, you do have everything there.
Yeah.
You did mention during those races, like it's a buff, and you reward yourself at the buffet. But I'm sure there's others with you, including your family. And as I see behind you, like you mentioned to us before the show too, those medals behind you,
Uh,
they're not solely yours,
yeah.
actually.
So pretty much like half of it is from like my wife and my son. So they actually got into running as well. Um, every time like I register for one, I make sure that I register them on like a 5K or a 10K. So even my daughter do like a kids dash, like a 200-meter run as well. So yeah, they got into it. I think for the most part, it's good. Like for us, like not only for our health, it's more like a bonding thing for us as a family.
Nice. I love that. And she's 4 years old, so I'm sure she's enjoying the races for now. Yeah, so she's having a lot
Yes,
of fun with those.
definitely.
That's good. I love hearing that. Do you have any last pieces of advice for those who um maybe are wanting to get into running? Like I guess like you said too, maybe they share a similar story wherein they're not into running at first, but what is your advice to those who want to run and work up their way to a marathon maybe in the future?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it a while ago. Like the hardest part is actually just starting to run, right?
Oh,
For people that really wanted to like do it or wanted to start, I think uh best way or like the best like distance to go is just to register for one, register for 5K, right? Because that really gets you like really be pushed to prepare for it, right? And during runs, you don't really need to be just going at it fast like every single time. Uh, if you just started, you start by walking and then jogging, right? Until jogging becomes like, until it goes vice versa. You're jogging more and walking less. And then from there on, you're gonna build strength to actually your endurance and your strength to actually be going for more, right? Um, and just trust the process, I guess. It's like running is not like there's no cheat code in running. You really gotta have to be consistent on what you do. And I think that's like pretty much like the best, like one of the reasons why I really kept at it, like the discipline of really being consistent in doing it and actually, I mean, more of like the mental state as well. It's a stress reliever for me. So that's another thing for that. So just start, that's the hardest. Just start running. Walk if walking is not like a penalty. It's not, no one's gonna tell you like, oh, yeah, you're not doing it right. Just go start doing it. I think that's like the hardest part, like that people really, they always just think about the distance. Oh man, this is this is tough, but no, just start it. Just do it.
Thank you for sharing your tips and advice. That is very, very helpful,
Yep.
Robert. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate all of your guidance. And so I guess that means Tony, mm,
Oh
we
yeah,
start.
we are gonna register for a 5K soon.
Oh no.
But before we start physically preparing to run a marathon, let's actually learn instead how to sign the word marathon. No, let's start with the basics, something more simple. So, for all of you who are watching us, let's learn together how to sign the word marathon or running in our This Is Your Sign segment.
Northern District of Great Lakes. Today our word is marathon. For marathon, you can just say running, right? Running, running, or you can spell it out. So it'd be Marathon. Marathon.
This is your sign.
Yay! Thank you to the Christian Society for the Deaf. We always love learning our different signs, and we don't just do learning. I hope in the future we will be doing more running. I think I did see something there from Kajuni that there will be some fun runs in the future to look forward to. But aside from that, we have some even closer activities that we want to recap and anticipate with our CFO in action. So the district recently held the CFO volleyball clinic. I wish I could play volleyball. I need to get better at it. And I think there's also
There's
pickleball.
pickleball too.
Yeah,
There's
pickleball too. I forgot the name of it. I was like trying to think in my head. I know that paddle. Can't think of the name though. And it looks like basketball there in Louisville as well. I'm always a fan of basketball. And Cincinnati, Louisville, I think it was Chicago that we saw earlier. Oh, also the stand hosted the Tornado Safety Seminar. That's very relevant for the Midwest here. Also Bookwood Forum held last weekend, I believe, for most of the local congregations. All with the different locales learning the nice video presentation for the Mary Brethren inside the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church. Milwaukee, Naperville, Bloomingdale. Shout out to all of you. And some upcoming activities. We have I don't know how to translate it in English, but the Tagaysan ng Talino, or Battle of the Brains, local level is March 2, and the district level will be in June. So if you aren't aware of this yet, or looking for more information, please contact your CFO leadership. And of course, without further ado, we have our hashtag challenge winners from last week. Let's see. This is the kind of epic music we need while running as well.
Yeah. Right.
All right, who do we got? Honorable mentions from out of the district all over. Ooh, see some familiar names there. Shout out to our crew who continue to support us. Fourth place is Rockford, Illinois, with individuals. This is Diana Del Rosario from Chesterton. Congrats for making the board. Third place is Cincinnati, Ohio. Congrats, Cincinnati, with Mr. Ivy Asculud from Bloomingdale. Second place is Chesterton with individual Rachel Lynn Winder. What? Second place only? Who made first place then? And it's Bloomingdale with individual no surprises there. Brother Abel Romero. Congrats, everyone. So great to have all of you always participating there in the live chat. We always hope to see your names and hear your insights on our topics. Let us know other things that you want to see for our shows and other things that you want us to talk about. I don't know if there's any. I think I did see some birthday mentions in the chat. I think it's Caroldan's birthday today.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'm gonna. Oh wait, today, 15th.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm gonna be so
Say this
embarrassed.
month.
I forget.
Let's just be safe and say this month.
I
So
mean, they said belated, so I'm thinking maybe
Yesterday.
it's on the path.
okay, so we'll
If not
just
today,
say
it's yesterday. I'm within a
um,
day.
I'm just gonna say this month of March. In March, it's his it's his birthday. So happy birthday to you, and to everyone else who's having birthdays in March and anniversaries. To everyone who's celebrating those, even for the local congregations. I don't think that we have any in March,
Can I
but
give a quick one, really quick? Really quick.
yes, of
Yeah.
course.
It's the 16th in the Philippines right now. So happy birthday to my dad. Yes, it's his birthday. I
Woo!
wonder if it's the time, but yeah, the 16th. Happy birthday, dad.
Yay! One of our supporters for INCRadio. So thank you to everyone who's been there teaming up in team live chat for the hashtags and local congregations. We super appreciate the support. But we do have to end our show. And of course, we cannot do that without giving our special thanks, of course, to our Great Lakes Assistant District Minister, Brother Arthur P. Agag, to our District Minister, Brother Elmer A. Sarmiento. A very special thanks to Brother Wally Tarai, our INC Radio Station Manager, to our CEBSI President and CFO Coordinator, Brother Angelo Uranio Vimanal, and of course, to our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo Vimanal. Go out there and be phenomenal, everyone. Go have a run. If it's nice outside, I think it's nice in Michigan area. I don't know about where you're tuning in from, but go have a run. Just try, walk, and then try to run. Yeah, from Robert, his advice today. So take care, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is INC Radio, DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station